We're going to start now, and it's really, really good to welcome Peredur Owen Griffiths. Peredur is a fantastic support. Now, we talk a lot about humility and curiosity in our team. We're always talking about it. And when we talk about it, when we encounter Peredur, he encapsulates it. And we're really, really grateful for his interest in substance support and treatment, which is a really genuine interest. He's going to come up and say a few words at the start.
Yeah, diolch yn fawr, Ben. Thank you very much. Well, croeso cynnes I chi. A very warm welcome to the Senedd. It's lovely to see so many here. This is our Senedd. Our Parliament is where we try to best craft Welsh solutions for Welsh problems. We're yet to have the powers over the criminal justice system, but it's something most pertinent to the issues that we will hear about today, but it's something that Plaid Cymru is committed to securing. We want the powers which have been endorsed for Wales by various independent commissions and studies, not just for the sake of having them, but so that we can craft a system that is more compassionate and has compassion at its heart and delivers better outcomes for our communities. Unfortunately, Labour in Westminster refused to countenance this, even though Scotland and Northern Ireland have their own legal jurisdictions. I have to give credit, though, where credit's due, and say that I've been encouraged by the appointment of James Timpson as Prisons Minister. I know his words and, most importantly, his actions show that he is someone that believes in the power of rehabilitation. I want to finish by saying that it's an honour to sponsor this event today. I've visited G4S and their base in Tredegar, where I met with the staff and the clients there and spent a couple of hours discussing and hearing some of the harrowing tales of people's lives of being in and out of the justice system and hitting rock bottom, but ultimately finding redemption due to the support that they received. I haven't any doubt that this event will demonstrate the rehabilitation work that you do, and that people should not be written off, that it's never too late to turn lives around. So diolch yn fawr iawn I chi. Thank you so much for coming here to the Senedd. It's important work that you do. It's important that we keep this in and these issues in our public consciousness and discuss them openly and in a very compassionate and humane way. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr.
G4S is a global company. You will know of them. I think everyone in the world knows of them. G4S Community is a small part of that, and we exist in Wales. We were started in Wales, inside Park, with a desire from my predecessor Alison to put together services to help people resettle when they left prison, and since then, the set of services that we've had to deliver have expanded, and we are present in all of the justice settings. So we're in the police custody suites. So if you're visiting Cardiff and you do get arrested, you'll meet one of our team who will help you to work through the difficulties that caused the arrest. So you can relax because you've already met us. We're in the courts. We're in community bases, and sometimes we share buildings with probation. Sometimes we have probation share our buildings, and we work really well together. We have staff in prisons, and we have staff who work with people when they're released from prison. We work with a fantastic range of charities, many of whom are Welsh charities. Barod, Adferiad, Kaleidoscope, Include and Safer Wales have been really, really strong partners, and we're really grateful. We're grateful for you guys for being here today to be a part of this event. And we're really grateful to the commissioning authorities. So we're funded, commissioned, and given the permission to run these services by HMPPS often, by the OPCC, so HMPPS, His Majesty, it's not her, His Majesty's Prison and Probation Service, OPCC, the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner, and South Wales, Dyfed and Gwent. we're really grateful because without the support, then we wouldn't be able to run services like we do. We're held to account. We meet frequently to talk about what we're doing with the investment that we receive, how we try and maximize it to deliver as much as possible for the benefit of the community, for people in our communities. And for me, accountability is support. So we're grateful for the part that you play. Thanks for being here today as well and supporting what we're doing. But as well as accountability, we're also encouraged and enabled to develop our services. So when you deliver services, you notice where the gaps are. And we've been very fortunate to have permission in dialogue with the people who commission our services to say that we've noticed the gap. Could we possibly put something together to get that gap and to deliver to the people who are missing out? And we're really fortunate that we've had these conversations, and prison, probation, police and crime commissioner teams have said, yeah, that's really valuable. We acknowledge that. We work with health services as well. And very often what we find is that the people who need our support have got difficulties that are bound up with justice systems and difficulties that are bound up with health provision. And we try and bring the solution that maybe walks the line between health and justice. We love to innovate. And part of the innovation is, again, having that permission to go slightly outside the lines. And we've got a lot of different projects we've worked with. We've been running the Future 4 contract for some time, which reaches people who are getting into difficulties with the justice system at a very early stage to try and divert them away from justice systems, justice agencies, and so that the impact of that justice involvement doesn't mar their lives for the future. We've worked with our charity partners to provide for women through the whole system of the justice journey. We've got an online drug education course, which is really super light touch. If people get caught, they're not given a caution or given an on-the-spot fixed penalty notice now in South Wales and Gwent, but they're given a brief online course to try and help achieve something for that encounter with the justice agencies. We've got a variety of others. I'm not going to list them. What we do have is a fantastic impact report, which I'll introduce to you in a moment, which will expand on a lot of this. So this event is talking about our impact. And in our line of work, I mean, some of you know, a lot of you work in and around this, this subject matter. This isn't easy to see the impact. I mean, we're in an amazing building today. I love architecture, so coming in here is really lovely for me. And you look around and you see what's been achieved. You see what was designed and planned and built, and it's still here. And we can all see it. And you just look over there and you see the Pierhead building, which looks fantastic. And my father-in-law was a welder, and he made gates, and you can drive around the Gower. And if you've got him in your car, he'll point out the gates that he made. And there may be a little signature hidden somewhere in there. And he could show you where the evidence of his work is. And it's difficult in our work sometimes to see the work achieved. And it's difficult sometimes to see the evidence of all the hard work that goes into it. And part of that, part of the reason for the event is to get that evidence in front of you, to show you what we've been doing. So Rishi Sunak's father-in-law, I'm going to quote him, is famed for saying this: "In God we trust, everyone else has to bring data to the table." If you're into data, we've got some data for you, okay? This, we're really proud of this report. It's just off the press. If you want a Welsh version, then we have Welsh versions being printed, but we also have a Welsh version online, which is already translated, ready for you to access as a PDF. So have a chat with me or with Laura after the event, and you can have one of these. There are figures in here. So in this report, in this report, we have 16,000 people in police custody in South Wales and Gwent encountered one of our team. 6,000 people, nearly 6,000 people in prison saw our team for triage when they arrived in prison. And when I say triage, the point of a triage when someone arrives in prison is so that if they've got a rehabilitation journey that's going to be disrupted by arrival in prison, then our team will meet that person face to face, everybody who arrives in prison, and they will say, look, is there anything we can help you with? Are you on a journey? Is there something which we can reconnect for you that may be disrupted through this event, you being put into a custodial setting? Currently, just in the South Wales area, we've got 1,000 people on our caseload. And being on caseload means that you have a caseworker who works with you, keeps tabs, encourages you, helps you to stabilize, to change, and to build your resilience. And when we were doing the Future 4, we've just concluded our Future 4 work. In the last 2 years of that, 84% of the people who went through that service did not go on to reoffend. That's the data. Data's great. Got a lot of visitors, haven't we? Maybe a little bit of messaging will go out across South Wales. Data's great. Data tells a story, but behind every single figure, there is a person. And our report captures some human stories. Please have a look. Please have a read through. It's a really brilliant blend of figures, stories. But we brought some stories to life here as well. So yeah, I may be causing you to yawn. You've got a mask on, Kate, so we can't see you yawn. It's fantastic cover. But we're going to have some videos. We're going to have some of the people who've used our services sharing what it has meant to them to receive the services that they have. So what we hope to do is to deliver the right support, the right help at the right time for somebody who is maybe just encountering justice service for the first time, or maybe somebody who's been involved with the justice system for a long time. You can take these with you. They're very lovely and we're very proud of them, but please take them with you. And if you want another copy for a colleague or for somebody else, please, that is fine. We'll get them reprinted if we need to. We've got about 90 minutes together. That's from 12 o'clock, so it's the clock is counting down. But our theme, so we really want you to just see a little bit about what we've done. We're quite hidden, and as I said, we don't build things that stand there for decades. But what we do build in conjunction with our partners in charities, our partners in the justice system, in conjunction with our commissioners who support us so well, and in conjunction with the people themselves who need the help and who actually do the hard yards and make the changes. We want you to see it because it's profound. Our theme is always a reason, always a future. It's a foundational principle for us. And research shows us reliably that people who get caught up in the justice system have suffered trauma, they've suffered deprivation. And so for everybody who needs our support, police custody, court, prison and beyond, there's a reason why they're in the situation they're in. There's the reason and then the impact that it's had on their life. And the impact that it has on people's lives is often that it causes them to find it really difficult to get the support that they need. And so we work with people on that basis, that if people need help, there's a reason for that, and we don't judge, and we provide help. We don't assess their motivation. We don't ask them if they're motivated to change today, and we'll work with you if you are, but if you're not, we won't. We ask them, do you want help? And if they want help, we'll help. And everybody who needs our help and support, we try and provide that support at the right time. But what is the right time? If we knew what the right time was, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? You could target your resources for maximum effect, but we don't know what the right time is. And so our disposition is the right time may be today. So today we're here and we've got colleagues in Cardiff Bay Police Station, and they're meeting people right now. And throughout the 90 minutes that we're here, they'll see a stream of people, and it may be the right time for those people to change. Our colleague won't know that it is or it isn't, but our colleague will work on the basis that it might be. And that's our culture. So for anybody who's with us, who's asking for some help, there's a reason why they need help. And we respect that. We don't necessarily need to know what it is in order to know, be tolerant, be flexible, and be persistent in offering the help. And for everybody, no matter how many times you've met them, there are names which people will know. Oh, he's back again. She's back again. There's always a future. So when I hear about a colleague, we've got colleagues in the room here who've saved lives because they've delivered naloxone to people who've been suffering overdose and drug poisoning. We've got colleagues who've gone into tents to do a home visit in a tent to a homeless person and found them in overdose and saved them. We've got people who are on their lunch break, who encounter somebody who is becoming unconscious and they've used naloxone because they've had it on them and they've saved lives. And we run out to the park in Neath every so often because somebody comes in and says, can you come to the park? Somebody's in danger. And genuinely our staff run out with a bag of naloxone and a variety of other things and save lives. And so for everybody who is in that situation, we will go out and do what we can to save the life because there's a future for that person if we can save them.
So I'm Nicola Fitzpatrick, I'm the Head of Operations for G4S Community. And I'm just going to speak to you a little bit about my time or since I've joined the organisation, and also linking in with what Miriam's just talked about, a little bit about the journey that we're on with our gendered services. So I joined the organisation just short of 2 years ago. I am actually shaking, like, good luck, guys. Nearly 2 years ago, after 20 years working with a homelessness charity, the last 12 of which I was overseeing all of their domestic abuse and gender-specific services, so managing refuges and community-based support for adults and children that had experienced abuse and violence. So when I joined G4S, it was a really exciting time, and I think you guys can see this now. You know, we're in our space, and we're really proud of the work that we do. But it was in a time of huge change when I joined. So as Ben mentioned, he had just become the new director. There had been a restructure of the senior management team, which created a job for me, brand new job. So got to shape it how I wanted it in a way. So sat down with Ben and decided to use the skill set and my experience to look at what does our service look like for women? What does that gendered lens need to look like? And how do we make sure that both people we support and the people that we work alongside feel that they're in a safe, supportive environment no matter what their journey is? So I started by a tour of our bases, looking at the buildings, meeting people that we support. And I remember my first couple of weeks, I went to Newport and I sat down with a bunch of men that had accessed our services time and time and time again, and literally just said, what works, guys? What does work? What doesn't work? What are your frustrations? What could we be doing better? And I basically did a nice little tour of a few different buildings and gathered that information. I then did the same with our colleagues and said, what do we do well? What does that support space look for you? And I'm a really big advocate of not talking about them and us. You know, these experiences, any one of us could be sat the other side of a custody suite. One small wrong decision in our lives, anyone. Back where I used to work, we used to say we're 3 paychecks away from homelessness. So, and when I stand here, I talk about one small mistake and any one of us is sitting the other side of that table in need of support. So as a female, looking at our spaces and thinking, would I come here? Would I feel safe if I walked through the building? And I'll be honest and say sometimes yes, sometimes no. And to take a leap of faith, I got very busy very, very quickly. And something you said, Miriam, about Bouvardal, and I'm just going to link into that a little bit. Our system is designed for men. 85% of the people accessing our services are males. So rightfully so, services are designed with that lens. But we need to make the 15% of women that come through our doors feel equally as safe as the 85% of men. So one of our now colleagues, Nia Kenyon, who is sat right in the front, started her work journey with us with a piece of research on the experiences for women using Buvidal as a clinical option. And what came through in Nia's research very clearly was that once-a-month attendance that you talked about in your film, Miriam, because they felt safer attending our bases once a month. My go-to was, so what happens in that month gap? Where are these women? What support are we providing with them? And if they feel safer coming to our spaces once a month, how do we get back out there into their communities and deliver them services for women, with women? So we then made the very bold move of opening ourselves up to external scrutiny and commissioned a very well-regarded colleague of mine, Johanna Robinson, who is also sat here today, to come and view us and to come and unpick our services. We gave her free rein access to our policies, to our procedures, to our colleagues, to people we support, and Jo interviewed everybody and came back to us with a fantastic report, but also some really clear recommendations. And I think something that was highlighted in Jo's report that I've known throughout my entire career also, or I've seen it, is as women, we can be perceived as difficult. There's a nice little label, difficult. I hear it all the time. I'd prefer to work with men because women are so difficult. We're quite challenging. But actually we're not. We're just outspoken. We know what we want and we know the support that we need, and we're okay about saying that. And so where somebody may perceive us as difficult, we are just strong. And we know what services need to look like to work for us. That is something that is in any nature of any sort of support work field that we work in. I've experienced that through my entire career, and saying, okay, so when we talk about women presenting as difficult, and I'm going to use difficult in them quotes, what are we actually talking about? And what I get back is defensive. We're defensive, we can be standoffish, we can push back. And then we need to think about why that exists and why women present in them ways. And overwhelmingly, that is because it's a massively well-developed coping mechanism to threat. And we don't acknowledge that enough. So Miriam, you so bravely told your story of experiences of abuse and trauma. When you add the fact that that woman is also a mother into the mix, you start having a dynamic of absolute terrified fear that if I am honest about what I'm going through, if I'm honest about my experiences, and I'm honest about maybe what substances I'm using, a relationship I'm in. I heard it there and I'm devastated because I hear it over and over again, is you may have your children removed. So who is going to be honest with us if that is the threat they are living under? And that's where the pieces of work that I've been looking at is how do we get people to trust us? Because in order to provide a good support service, you need to trust the person that's providing that service towards you. You have to have absolute trust in them. It's not tell us your story and I'm going to ring someone else and give them all the gossip. That's not the space that we need to be in. We need to be in a space where we are working with people in order to meet their needs. And that comes with the acknowledgement that the people that come through our doors, whether it's male or female, have experienced multiple, significant, severe disadvantages in their lives, overwhelmingly. There'll be the odd occasion, like if I went out on Saturday night and maybe fell through a glass window after a few too many drinks. But actually, the people that come through our doors need our services to have that trauma lens. We need to understand where behaviours come from. It's not just presenting behaviours. There's always a causal and underlying reason for that. So just by saying this is what we know, what do we do about it? So having been on the journey with Jo for the last year of reviewing our spaces, what I wanted to do is look at, okay, so what tools do we give the team then? So how do we allow our staff colleagues to work with people in a more trauma-informed way? Because I nearly undid all the brilliant work that's existed here before I came. That is not what I was doing. But actually, how do we build on that offer? And how do we continue to build on what we do? And when it comes to women, I'm going to give you a direct quote from Jo's report. The message is simple. If we want women to recover and prevent reoffending, we need to find a way for women to prioritise the way in which their needs are met and not have to navigate a complex system with varying criteria to do so. So, it's a bold sentence, but actually really simple. And then you start thinking about the person leaving prison, and on the day that they leave prison, they've got to get on a train, go back to wherever it is that they have accommodation, and then they have to report to probation, then they come to us, and then they may have to go to homelessness. So we are asking people to go to all these different spaces in a moment where they are really, really struggling, and they need to be held up and supported through that journey. When I first joined, somebody shared their story with me and said, the easiest thing in the world for me to do was to get on the train in Cardiff, get off the train in Newport, and walk straight up to the guys that I used to knock around with anyway. That is the easiest thing for me to do because it's the life I know. The hardest thing for me to do is walk past them guys and find myself in your offices and then throw myself open to the trust of your support. And we need to consider that when we are working with people, that we are asking the world of somebody whilst they're in a vulnerable moment in their lives. So to kind of wrap me up, I've no idea of concept of time, I'm just rambling on now. I actually wrote a speech and I know I wouldn't stick to it as soon as I wrote it, so I'm trying. Moving forward for us, what we're looking at, it's not a them and us space, like I've said. So looking at the support for our colleagues, we've placed our colleagues with the same importance of people we support to make sure that our staff feel protected, supported. So we've enhanced our offer, which include safe spaces for colleagues who have experienced abuse themselves, support for colleagues that are struggling with their own mental health and well-being, and for colleagues who find themselves or their family members involved with justice systems, because it's not a them and us space. Again, it could be any of us. The biggest takeaway from me, everybody matters. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're the person accessing our service, whether you're the person working within our workforce, whether you're the person commissioning our services, working alongside us in the probation settings, in prison settings. It doesn't matter what our label is. We're all just people, and people deserve an opportunity to engage with the help that they need when they need it. And the thing that has stuck with me since my very first day, and when I went to an event very quickly after we joined, and everybody that had accessed our services and started talking talked about that one time, the one time that made a difference. So it could be their first time, it could be the 15th time, it could be the 100th time, but who are we to decide when the right time is the right time for that person? It is our job to be there when it is their right time. And that's what we maintain that we do. We are going to be in them spaces for people whenever the time is right for them to access our services. And we'll continue to grow and develop and learn. Today's a huge event for us, you know, standing up here publicly talking about who we are and what we do. But I'm really, really, really proud of the work that G4S community do, and I'm really excited and just really pleased to see you here also getting to have an overview of who we are and what we do and us owning that space. Thanks very much. Oh, and now I am going to, do you want me to introduce or you? Ben is coming up.
Thank you, Nick. Really, really important stuff for us. A couple of years ago, we had a letter arrive at our Cardiff base. Now, our Cardiff base has been a difficult place to work. You know, it's a gritty place to deliver services from. And a letter came through the door addressed to us, to Dyfodol. And it said, you might not remember me, but I was a pain in the backside for you. I was a little bit more explicit than that, but I'm very polite. So I was a pain in the backside. You tried to deliver services to me, and I didn't really look like I'd changed and taken advantage of the help that you'd offered. And now things have changed. And I just want to say thank you for your help. It took us by surprise, so much so that that Laura tracked him down and found him, John Paul, and asked him for a conversation. John Paul then came and spoke to our whole staffing group just up the road in Portland House when we had an all-staff event, because we really wanted to hear what John Paul had to say, and he's agreed to come and talk to us today. So I'll invite John Paul to come up. And I'll leave you to it.
Yeah, guys, firstly, you know, I just want to say, usually when I walk into a building like this and there's trays put out on the side and I'm being strip searched, I'm on my way to prison. I don't come home and I don't see my family or loved ones for a long time. You know, firstly, Laura, thank you so much for asking me to come. Ben, thank you, and thank you to everyone who's involved. You know, it's a real blessing and an honour to be here today among you guys. You know, where do I start? From my earliest memory, I was just driven and crippled by this complete condemning fear. I didn't know who I was lost, I was broken, way before I ever picked up a substance. Everything around me looked okay. From the normal person looking in, my life was okay. But I felt distant, I felt separated, I didn't really know what was wrong with me. You know, and that was the question every single morning when I woke up. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I didn't know. You know, I couldn't have any kind of relationship with anyone. I wasn't able to be myself through school. I felt ostracized. I would play up. All this kind of stuff took place. And I found drinking drugs. And the second I put that drinking drug inside me, I went like this. That is what I've been looking for. I've been searching for a sense of ease and comfort for so long. I've been looking for a sense of security, acceptance and significance. I'm trying to prove to you guys that I'm someone. And I found that in drinking drugs. And for a period of time, it was good. I really liked what it done for me. It done for me something that I couldn't do for myself. I was able to speak with people, communicate. Everything was good. I'm up in the woods in my wellies, raving, and it was all fun. It was good. But you guys went home and I didn't. I'm still up 3 days later. Who am I going to rob? What's going to happen? Guys, I'm going to say some things, you know, and the truth of it is I'm going to get honest and vulnerable, you know, and I'm not proud of this stuff, but it's truth. I have to take accountability for exactly the person I was. I was lost, I was broken. You know, it took me to some places that I really didn't want to be. I was committing crimes that I really didn't want to do. I'm taking money out my own family's hand, snatching it out of their hand, while saying I'm sorry. I really don't want to do it, but the drive to continue to use was so much stronger than anything. I tried jobs, I tried relationships, I tried loads and loads of means to try and solve this problem that I had. I moved, but right in the middle of me, right in the core of me, I was still upset. I was still lost and broken, and I landed in front of your services at a very young age. You know, I remember I was 16 years of age, and I turned up to a very kind doctor, and she said, I'm going to give you the best, I can't remember, it was either 16 or 18, I'm going to give you the best birthday present ever. I'm going to give you a methadone program. And at that time, I felt like the weight of the world was just lifted off my shoulders, you know, that I'm no longer going to be using heroin, crack and committing crime. And I wish I could say that was the case. You know, it took the edge off. Yeah, most definitely. You know, but I was still driven to continue to commit crime and do these kind of things that I didn't want to do, you know. And every single time I landed in a police station, a custody suite, a frontline service, whether I'm out on the street and there's an intervention, something was happening. I couldn't see it because I was blind to it. I was not ready for any kind of help or support. I didn't know what to do. I was broken, but I was met by love every single time. You know, there's been so many times when there's been interventions in my life. People have interceded, you know, and offered me a hand, you know. But the truth is, I was still riddled with this fear. I didn't want to tell you what was really going on for me because I was scared of what you would think of me. I didn't want to tell you that I'm kicking off doors and doing these things that are completely and utterly horrendous, that today, you know, I'm not proud of, but it's the truth. Because I was scared of what you would think of me. Really, deep down, I'm just a broken, lost boy who needs help. And you guys are there, and you offered it to me. You know, I would receive it, and then let go. I would receive it, and then let go. And I went round and round and round in this circle, and I just don't know a way out. I'm the type of drug addict who's in a custody suite in Cardiff Bay, waiting there, clucking off methadone. After 3 days, you know, I'm still there. They can't find my script. They finally managed to find it. You know, they get there. There's a lovely, kind doctor. She's there. As she turns around to administer my methadone, I'm in her handbag trying to take her mobile phone. Because it's not about the methadone. I'm thinking how I can get crack and heroin when I get released from there. That's the levels of the illness that I suffer with. I was not well, you know, but every single time there was a level of care, compassion. I couldn't care for myself. I didn't care. I had toenails like talons. I hadn't washed. I was a state. I couldn't look you in the eye. I was full of fear, condemning myself. And every single time I came into your services, I was met by love, care, compassion. People seen something in me that I couldn't see in myself. You guys never gave up on me. I would end up back in, here we go, it's round and round. You know, but every single time there was something there. You guys believed in me when I couldn't do that for myself. You know, I brought a child into this world thinking he will fix it all. I held that boy in my hand on the way from hospital, and I made a promise to him that I am never, ever going to do this again. I love that boy with my dear life. I'd jump in front of a bus for him, but he could not keep me clean. It wasn't enough. I was still driven by this disease of addiction. My mind was completely deprived. More, more, more. I want what I want. I'll get what I want, and I don't care who stands in the way. And that's the way it was, you know. It's so, so unfortunate, but it's the truth. Because I wanted what I wanted. And when I didn't get my own way, I spat my dummy out, and I wasn't happy with anyone. Self-centered to the core. It was all about me. You know, guys, there's been times, you know, I was sat here today, right, and I took some time just before we came in, and I was just sat on the little front by there, and I was looking out, you know, and I see still waters, and it all looked nice and calm, and I just seen this boat. This boat started coming, right, and I just had a vision that basically you guys and the services you provide have been a vessel for me every single time. I'm drowning. Picture a drowning man. That was me. I'm in that sea. There's no way out. And the boat would come. There was aid every single time through a way of frontline services. And I put my hand out, and you reach out for me, and you bring me into the boat. But I wouldn't stay there. I would jump back in the water because I wanted to do things my own way. I wasn't ready. And then what I seen is behind the boat, there was like a ripple. A ripple. That was my past completely condemning me. You are this, you are that, you're never going to amount to nothing, you're going to die a hopeless junkie in a doorway. That's what my mind was telling me. But you guys continue to offer that hand of love and support, and bring me in. And, you know, what I believe today is, as a platform, through you guys, I've been delivered to a place of safety where I can start to just about do the basic, simple things in life. I haven't committed a crime for a long period of time. I've abstained completely from drugs and alcohol for a very long time. Blessings have come into my life, you know, and opportunities have come my way. You know, guys, I'll be honest, I'm all new to this stuff. You know, a DBS came through my door. It was like the Argos catalogue, and I'm not proud of that. But what I want to say is, when I sat upstairs and I read through that, I sobbed my heart out. Not because of this is who I was. Tears of joy, because I'm dead to that. I'm no longer that person. I've been given a blessing and an opportunity to be able to help other people today. You know, to be able to put my hand out from that boat and help other people. Doors have opened in my life, you know, where today I'm a member of the criminal justice team in North Somerset, helping other men just like me. You know, and guys, I see what you do on a day-to-day basis. You're in the trenches. You are saving lives. You know, sometimes I wasn't receptive to that, but what I really see is hope. I was a complete hopeless junkie who couldn't be there for my family, who couldn't stop committing offences, who couldn't tell the truth. And through your services and intervention, time and time again, my life has slowly started to change. You know, there's been a transformation in my mind. The way I think is different. The music I listen to, the way that I speak, the way that I carry myself. It's all happened because everything had to change. I had this delusion that I could go through a treatment centre and go back to being a full-time dad and get, you know, gold star and put my gold cape on and fly back to South Wales. Like, you know, the truth is I was still a hopeless junkie. I had some real deep soul searching to do, and I had to continue to engage with people like you, you know, but I really had to be ready for it. Something broke inside me when I put my hands up and I said, I cannot do this anymore. I'm going to stop fighting you. I'm going to stop selling meat in the foyers of your services. I'm going to stop spitting my methadone back in the cup and going out and using. I'm going to stop lying to you. And I'm just going to tell the truth because you guys are here to help me. You're not the enemy. You know, for such a long time I've done DRRs, this, that, red to tear, the list goes on. You know, and I was always so scared of failure, of making a mess of things. I'm never going to amount to nothing. And today, what I really see is everything that happened was meant to happen. It really was. It really wasn't a failure. I see it today as fertilizer. It was building me up for something, you know, and I don't know what that is, but I'm okay with that. I want to stand here today and tell you that I've got a 40-hours job, you know, and a super-duper wife and, you know, a Ferrari. That's not the case. But when I wake up in the morning, I don't think about drinking and using. I don't think about killing myself. I don't think about committing crime. I think about how can I help someone else today? And that's not me. The core of my being is selfish and self-centered. It was me, 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 me for as long as I can remember. And today something's happened, and what I can honestly say is without you guys and the support that you gave me, the loving hand that you put out to me time and time and time and time again, I believe that I'd be dead. You know, I can fluff it up and say I'd probably still be out there using, but when I really look deeper than that, there was only one alternative for me. There was only one thing that I hadn't yet done, and that was died. Everything that I thought I wouldn't do, I hit all the yets. I'm just going to smoke skunk, then a bit of cocaine. I'm never going to be a junkie. I'm just going to fly around, this, that. I hit all the yets. I ended up a homeless person in the street doorways of Cardiff, prolific shoplifter and burglar. And I still thought I was somebody. 8 stone, soaking wet, with a big bushy beard, thinking, I am the man. Something had to change. I was broken. I had no respect for anyone in the community. I was just driven by my own desires. But what I've seen today, when I look back at them experiences with open eyes, is I see people who look beyond their job, who went above and beyond to help me and see me for who I was, met me exactly where I was at. I had no crazy expectations on me. Didn't believe that they could wave a magic wand, you know, but continued and continued and continued to show a broken man like me the help and support I needed. And today that's been, you know, I really look at that as a blessing. I see what you guys do. You all go home back to your lives, you know. You don't need an addict like me coming in, giving you all guns blazing in your office. It's just a job. It's a job where you're there to help and support people. And today I see that. My heart is softened towards you guys and other people who are still out there. You know, the truth is I walk through Cardiff today and I see people who I used to use with in them street corners and them bus stops, and my first thought is, how are you still alive? I used to wake up and want to kill myself in the morning. Today I want to live. And guys, it's all thanks to the platform you guys provided time and time and time and time again. Thank you very much. I'll leave it there.
John Paul spoke to us and really encouraged a lot of our staff who've been going through some difficult times. And when you work in this field, you do see people who don't appear to change. And I know that when you spoke to our group, people walked away thinking, yeah, I might be doing things now that are sowing seeds for a couple of years' time. So I'm going to carry on doing it with as much energy as I can muster. We have a video from Dean. Now, Dean, we've got 2 Deans, just to confuse you. We've got 2 Deans. We've got Dean on the screen there in the cap on the far right-hand side. And a little while ago, Dean worked with us to capture his story, and we're going to show that now.
Well, this is what I used to bed down, as you say, like, you know. Just like go about my day on the street, just a couple of sleeping bags, a few boxes on the floor, and yeah, just bed down the night by ear, because it was quiet and I kind of tended to get left alone, out of the way, like. Yeah, like growing up, you know, most of my close friends and family thought I would have never been that person to end up involved with heroin and crack and whatever. I was interested in football more, and I was obsessed with football. Done pretty well in school. I had loads of friends. Not a bad upbringing, loving family. From 18 onwards, started off as experimenting, trying to deal with my emotions properly, and then ended up just not being able to stop, physically addicted. Drugs took it away at the start. It helped, and so I carried on doing it when I was up and down with my emotions. But then the drugs stopped working. But then by the time I tried to stop, I couldn't. I was already addicted. I was just losing control of everything, and ended up coming to the streets to isolate myself from everything, because I didn't know what else to do. And even when I wanted to stop, I was screaming at myself to stop, I still carrying on. So I started looking into what to do about what am I supposed to go? What do I do? Because I didn't want to take the drugs anymore. I just could not see a way out. And that's what I found the rehab in Birmingham then. So I ended up working towards going there, went there. It was great. It's the first time I think I stayed there for nearly 2 years. came round, so physically I was strong again, and mentally I was quite strong again. I thought, oh wow, I can't believe I had finally stopped. I hadn't really, all I'd done was get clean. I hadn't worked on anything that was the issues that go on in my head, the things that the emotions or whatever I struggled with. And then life started getting awkward again. And before I knew it, I felt like I couldn't cope. And then the only thing I knew to try and numb that or to try and cope was some substance. So I started again, and it would be back to the streets again, and then back to rehab again. And I'd done that 14 times, I think, altogether. And I laugh now because I used to turn up in hell of a mess, and they say to me, why are you back? And I used to say, I haven't got a clue. I don't know. Yeah, so rehab's been a big part of my life, and it's probably saved my life a few times, but it just got me clean. I couldn't conquer, or I couldn't get the understanding of how I needed to live to deal with the things the emotions I couldn't cope with, basically. I thought I'd hit my own rock bottom countless times, but that was really rock bottom. I nearly died. I was holding on to the people that really cared about me by a hair length. Then I was willing to do the things I wasn't willing to do before. They've been intervening in my life from the start of my drug use. And again, I believe they should have given up a few times. They thought, oh, they're not going to give me another meth script. Hey, I've done 5 or 6 or 7, whatever, and why would they give me another one? I'd have a meth script and I'd have to come and see a drug worker. Sometimes the course would make me come. And I was challenging. I hardly ever listened. I had some new way of, oh no, it's all right, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it, that way. And they don't understand me or whatever. And I was challenging with them. I mean, like lockdowns a lot of the time, but they never give up. And that made the difference to me because, and if they hadn't have intervened as much as they did, all them times that of that intervention, then hours I'd have to come in for appointments. And even though I didn't want to come, I was in a mess, I didn't want to come. I believe that if I didn't have to go there and they didn't intervene as much as they did, that I wouldn't be where I am now. I'd either be dead, or I wouldn't have this chance. I wouldn't be in the position I am now because that intervention was helping, even though I didn't like it. And it took me a while to see that, and that's why towards at the end I came in to say, look, I see it now. Thank you for all your intervention, because I don't think I'd be where I am if you didn't keep chipping away at me, keep giving me them chances, give me the scripts time and time again, And I've had a lot of drug workers, and they've all tried to help in different ways, whether it's just relapse prevention, or just being able to talk, just sat there listening to me when I'm going off on one. There's a range of stuff really, and men's groups that you could go to. If he was trying to stop and he was just on a meth script and he was on his own because he don't bother with all the people he used to take drugs with anymore, you could go to the men's groups there, or acupuncture and things like that. And it was just other things to get involved with. So you wasn't on your own trying to stop. I look back now, and it encourages me to know where I was to where I am, and I haven't got a lot, but it's a life beyond my wildest dreams to where I used to be. I got constant contact with my son. I got a partner who actually cares, who wants to spend time with me. My family speak to me all the time now. I spend a lot of time with my grandmother. My work's going really well. I'm a floorer now, and my work's going really well. My family life is really well. People want me around. Yeah, so it's amazing to be to feel normal, not anxious all the time, or not worried about, you know, who's not talking to me now, or when next time the phone rings, who's knocking at the door. You know, life's, it's 1,000% better than what it was. I remember Christmases as a kid and things, but not during my drug use, probably 18 till about a year and a half, well, you know, Christmas before, or last Christmas, it was just another day. It didn't mean anything. I'd wake up wherever I was, not many people to speak to, no presents or presents to give to anybody else. It was just another day to me, and it was more depressing really, because, you know, you knew it was Christmas, but it wasn't for me because of my actions and things I was involved in. And so Christmas was something I just needed to get out of the way, just get it over and done with, because I didn't spend it with anybody, or, you know, or they didn't want to spend, you know, I couldn't be around people. But this Christmas is the first, you know, not to spend it with my family, but I got my own family to spend it with. And, you know, I can buy presents, and I can put decorations up, and I got a place I can do up, and you know, and put a Christmas tree up, and, you know, decorate the dog and stuff. You know, and I got a dog. That's mad. But yeah, this is the first Christmas in as long as I can remember, that I'm looking forward to. You know, it's going to be Christmas, a Christmas. Really looking forward to it.
We were hoping that Dean would be here today, and Dean has struggled recently and didn't feel like he could come today. And I think just the fact that he hasn't managed to be here, I mean, it's intimidating, mind. I mean, look at you guys, you know, in this place. It's intimidating for all of us. But you know what? I think is an important point here. And the important point is that Dean has achieved a huge amount. And he filmed that film in order to share his progress. And I think, you know, sometimes the weakness in our justice system is that when people do well but then struggle, we don't necessarily consider the progress to have been real progress. I think sometimes when someone does well and gets stable and starts to change and then hits a new challenge or an old challenge at a new time, I think we were probably fooled. The change didn't really take place. They weren't really impacted by our work. But that's wrong. It's so wrong. So the monument that is that video is that Dean made huge changes, is that his caseworkers and everybody who managed to help him to reach that stage took place. And Dean is now encountering different things. Like, don't we all encounter different things? I was slimmer at one stage, you know? But I remember those times, and maybe I'll be slimmer again one day because I'll remember that I did it, and therefore I can do it. And we will wait. We're keeping in touch with Dean. And he's not here today, but he can do that again, and he can do better than that again. Anthony, our other friend in a cap, on the screen there, he was going to come. He met Peredur up in Tredegar and told his story, which was a great story. It's in the book. So check it out. I can't plug this enough. So check it out when you get time. Don't go back to work this afternoon. Read the book. Have a coffee upstairs. It's a lovely story of a guy who struggled for 40 years in the justice system and has encountered homelessness. And now he's got somewhere to live and he's doing a bit better. And he came to meet Peredur in Tredegar office, which again, you know, that's quite something. One of 3 guys who came to talk about their experiences, share their experiences, and to help Peredur understand the system and understand life in Tredegar when you're not getting the breaks. And he's not here. He's not here today. But that doesn't mean he hasn't done brilliantly well to reach the stage that he's at now. And it doesn't mean that he can't go further another time. So it's something that is in ourselves. We've got a negativity bias. We err on the side of cynicism. But we need to be able to tell ourselves when you commission services that sometimes seem to be fighting against a rough current, that those services are achieving things. They might be achieving things that the payoff is just around the corner, just out of sight, just out of reach. And it may be that we achieve something and then it looks like that was lost, but it wasn't lost. And I think it's fascinating to listen to Dean's story. And if you see a dog in Swansea that's decorated on Christmas coming up, if you're in Swansea at Christmas, you see a decorated dog, that might be that Dean has done a bit better and that he's stable again and changing, because that can happen. So Dean's reasons, but Dean's future is still there, and we will still keep in touch and work with Dean. Now, I want to invite Dean up to take a seat up here, and Miriam, is that okay, Miriam? And John Paul. Lots of the stories that are in the book are in the words of the person who's telling the story, but it's something different when you meet people, isn't it? Dean, we haven't heard your story yet. I wonder if you could just give us a little summary.
So I battled addiction all my life. Come from a broken home, ended up in care at an early age. Didn't have a good time in care, ended up getting abused. That had a horrific input on my life, and I'm just using drugs to escape Dean. Been in and out of jail since '93. Broken all this time, just didn't want to be me. I hated me. When I was using the drugs, I just forgot about Dean, and that just got me through a day. Committed suicide, tried. There was times in my life I didn't want to be here, and I was shattered. Everybody who tried to help me, I pushed away, didn't want them around me. Go back 3 years ago, come back in custody, I messed up again. This time, something had happened, because all of a sudden I needed a change. I realised I was broken, I was hurting all my loved ones. I weren't doing nothing to them, but my actions was destroying them. So I reached out to Devodel, told them I had a bad problem with heroin. Up until then, I didn't have a problem. I had a problem, but I thought I had it. I was hiding it, and I was on top of things. So I went on a methadone script. Up until then, I thought, methadone, I wouldn't touch that. It's not for me. Best thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. So on methadone for 18 months. I went from Swansea to HMP Park. I met Jackie in. Jackie's my drug worker at the time. We had a bit of a plan where I wanted to go, how I was going to get there. Jackie supported me all the way. 18 months ago, and I went on to Bouverdal. Absolutely changed my life. It gave me confidence. I would never be able to sit up here and tell my story beforehand. No. Onwards and upwards from here out. I've been out of jail now 3 months. This is the longest I've been drug-free and out of jail since 1993. And I'm working with, I'm living in a place called Emmaus. It supports homelessness. It is the next best thing I've done to going on a Bouverdal treatment. I've got my support worker, Scott, come up with me for support today. Onwards and upwards. I recently had a promotion, so I'm kind of like an upcycling manager. So I work with other companions, showing them the ins and outs of woodwork and all the rest of it, risk assessing, like any jobs we do, the tools we use, and it's a lot of responsibility, and I love it. And my future's never ever been this bright, and everyone around me and my family are they love spending time with me. In fact, I haven't got enough time for them a minute. It's honestly, that's me in a nutshell. Devodel come in my life at a time when I needed it most, because I don't think I'd be here without Devodel. And you know what, Jack, I've been through some of the darkest times I've ever had. The last 3 years, I've gone and done counselling to get on top of like the abuse as a youngster. So I had to leave a couple of goals to rest. I'm still dealing with them. I've had to go back to counselling now. But I know talking about my problems leaves a door open for professionals to come in and help me. I can't do this on my own. So I need the professionals to come in, and they got a better head than me at times, I guess a bit rash, but I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who've helped me, my journey, and got me where I am now. I'm super proud and like I can't thank you enough. Thank you very much to everyone, honestly.
I mean, the courage, read the book, it's phenomenal. The courage to tell your story, Dean, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Because you mentioned Jack, you mentioned Matthew, you mentioned Scott. And it's not easy to see where the work goes, and it's not easy to see your results. And thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And all the work that goes on inside Park as well. There's a huge amount of work that goes on inside Swansea Prison, where our Adferiad team are. We'll have worked with Dean, and then Park Prison, where there's a team working with these guys as well, and then post-release. It's so important to get that post-release handover worked out well, so that Dean will know who he's seeing when he's on his last day in a prison, and know who he's seeing on his first day on release, and know that there is ongoing care and support. And it's hugely important. When you said earlier on that you loved it because you knew Matthew already, that's just phenomenal.
So for me, getting out of jail was the biggest thing, because I couldn't get out of jail. I began out of jail to meeting some of my mates at the gate, because I didn't fit in out in the community. I spent so much time in jail there, like I just committed a crime to go back. It was easy. I come from care, 15 when I first went to jail. So all my mates from care was there. It was just a party for me. I was like, yeah, happy days. And they'd be sentenced to 4 or 5 years. He's saying to the judge, cheers, mate, because it was my world at the time. All my drugs was there. This time was a bit different. Me and Jackie, we'd had a little chat prior to getting out. And then, I knew what I was expecting. We'd had an appointment with Claire from Emmaus. She came and met me at the gate, and that was the hardest thing for me, because I knew I could just go and chuck all this away, what I've done all my life, or do I man up and go and sit in a car and drive to a different destination, to somewhere different that I've never been before, but I haven't been in that head frame before, so it was so nice to know that I had something worthy to get out to, instead of just thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do this time. It may have turned my life around from where, so thank you for coming to them appointments with me, Jack, because you know yourself, I know good on my own. I need that little bit of encouragement, so thank you.
Thank you. There are so many amazing services out there. And this is an Emmaus Impact event now as well, which is really great, because people like Emmaus and others, the rehab in Birmingham that was discussed, there are services out there that need to be connected in to people's journeys, and people need a help to navigate bewildering systems and bewildering sets and sequences of treatment. John Paul. Yeah, grab a mic, John.
Hello.
Is there anything that, when you think about the people working with you, that you shared brilliantly, and thank you so much for that. I would really appreciate you being here. And John Paul doesn't live here, by the way. He's journeyed from Weston-super-Mare to come and see us today, which is really brilliant. When you see some of us who work with you guys, there's somebody here who's connected with magistrates. What would you say to them when they consider the work that's being done and struggle to find good results, and struggle to see good stories, and struggle for encouragement, maybe, to do this work?
Yeah, guys, so, I take it back to my own experience for so long, I was in just a complete beautiful forest, and I was concentrating upon one ugly tree. You know, sometimes, guys, we're up against this, stuff happens, feels like we're banging our heads against the wall, whatever that looks like, whatever that challenge is. But there's always beauty in it, you know, and you are definitely making an impact, and you know, and you have in my life profoundly, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
Thank you. And Miriam, we saw your story on video. Now, I've watched your video about 6 or 7 times, and I've cried every time I've watched it. I think you need to know, right, that I put Nick to talk after Miriam because I wasn't confident I could speak after Miriam's video. And I watched it on Sunday just to check, and I just cracked up again. And it's so brave to be videoed, so brave to tell your story. And I know it's super emotional, and you've done amazingly well. And so I think I'll ask you a slightly less emotional question. John Charles is in that video.
Yeah.
He's a caseworker in that.
Yeah.
And he said he's the best caseworker you've ever had.
100%. I know I could never have done this on my own. I'm not even on Bobadol anymore. I'm off my injection. I've been off for 6 months.
Wow.
I'm absolutely smashing life. And I wouldn't have done it without John. I wouldn't have. And I don't know how he put up in my mind. I'm not even joking, because I was difficult. I used to go there screaming my head off and be like, Miriam, just calm down. I'm like, I can't do this. And he stuck by me, and he stuck by me, and he outlived half of my family. You workers stick round us, I'm not even joking. Family closes out on us, and you lot are still there for us, and that's what we need. We need somebody that genuinely cares. You lot do. And just, keep doing your work, guys, because we will get there. People might mess up in life, people might fail, but they will get there. They will. With the right support, people will change. Look at my life. Look, I never, ever thought that I'd be sitting here today. How am I even still alive? But I am, thanks to the work that you lot does. So thank you all very much, and I can relate to your stories so much. And just, you know what? You're smashing it. Be proud of yourself.
All these stories, all interlinked, it just comes from different spectrums.
Yeah.
Like, and, you know, how much, like with the women, from where you represent your side, you know, it's male-orientated. Like, there's so much males in the prison system. Yet the women is, you know, it's a little thing, you're doing a big thing with them. Trust me.
And it needs to happen, and you lot need to recognise that. We wouldn't be here without you guys. And just keep it going.
Thank you so much. Thank you
And
so much.
thank you all so much. Thank you.
It's amazing, right? Keir Starmer was here yesterday. He couldn't stay for this. We're here today. King Charles is here on Thursday. But this is the best, isn't it? This is the best. Let's give these guys a clap. When John said that every time he needed help, he was met with love. We don't commission love, do we? It's not on the spec. But the beauty of what we're looking at here is that we're commissioning people to work with people. And when you get people in a room with other people, then you have an emotional response. You have patience, you have compassion and kindness. And that's so important. And I think that what we've got is in the experience of the guys who spoke to us this morning, and then, I don't know if I've mentioned the book. If you have a look at this and you have a read of that, and there are some reflections from some of our staff in there, and some passages which talk about our vision and our mission. I think what you'll be struck with is that, we need to do this work. There are some difficulties in society, and we know that police, we know courts, we know prison play their part, and we all appreciate their intervention for keeping us safe, and that's important. But within and all around all of those structures, people need support. And that support is commissioned, and what we end up having is a human in a room with a human, trying to relate, trying to inquire, trying to be curious and humble as we try and work out what is the reason. As we treat people like there is a reason. This isn't just bad behavior. This isn't just disruption. Miriam screaming at John Charles. He's a good guy to scream at because he's the most patient man I've ever known. But John Charles, the patience that he shows to bear with that and to keep on working and to keep encouraged somehow. So every one of the 16,000 people that we see in police custody across South Wales and Gwent is someone with a reason, someone with a future. Every one of the 6,000 people that we see going through the prison system for an initial triage, it's a person, it's not a number. And there are reasons why they're there, and there's a future for them. Every one of the 1,000 people that we're currently intensively working with, just in the Dyfodol area, again, there's a person with a reason, and there's a person with potential. And I talk to staff, and sometimes, you know, you get involved in, there's an incident somewhere, and you're like, oh, that behaviour was bad. And the member of staff will say, yeah, let me tell you about that person. Let me tell you what happened for them. Let me tell you the potential that we've seen. And we'll do our best to carry on providing services, to flexing and being adaptable and being understanding and having that disposition of just, yeah, humility, curiosity, patience and compassion. So our vision, we don't do this alone, right? We're really proud of this work, but we're really proud of everybody who's involved with this work with us. And I hope that's come across. But our vision is to continue to deliver services of treatment and support in the community, custody, courts, prisons, wherever need emerges, that are efficient. It's really important, isn't it? That are robust in order to withstand the challenge that someone may pose us and still deliver the service. But our services that tread lightly on the lives, and that's a Keir Starmer quote, and I'm not trying to channel the Starmer today, but we've talked about this a lot, that the justice system is quite traumatic for people. It can be a bit blunt and it can be a bit clumsy, and we can all play our part in that. And so what we want to do is be there. We want to be involved with working out where people's strengths are, preserving those strengths, not being too heavy-handed if people aren't involved in too serious offences, and then being very patient when people are involved in a repeat pattern, a lifestyle of offending. But again, we want to value people, dignify people. And overall, I hear a bell ringing, and I don't know what it means, but what I know is that we're 5 minutes away from food, and that's a very important thing that we don't miss. So I think I want to just thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your presence. Thank you for smiling. That really encourages me. Thank you so much, the guys who've been through and still are involved with our services. And thank you to our staff who are here. Everyone who's here, who's been involved with our services, have someone who's worked with them here as well. And thank you, book. Thank you, Laura, and to our design. Sam, where is Sam? Sam, I should have known you were Sam. You've been smiling throughout this. And your design reflects that you get it, and thank you for that. And thank you for our videographer team as well, who are here today and who produced the videos there. This is a brilliant place to be, brilliant place to spend time together. We haven't dived into the details of what we do when we're in a room with somebody. There's a lot to say, isn't there? We can talk about that over a vol-au-vent upstairs, potentially. And I'll just say thank you. And it'll be ready in a couple of minutes. So, yeah, let's go and have some food.